I'd like to introduce our next presenter, Ben Lai. I've known Ben for a little while. He's a sales trainer, and his presentation today is going to be how to create a simple three-step sales system that converts. So I'd like to hand over to Ben so that we can tackle this bottom of funnel, this conversion. So over to you, Ben.
Good morning, and thank you, David. Uh, just a brief introduction to myself. I am the soft selling specialist. I am a natural introvert. I came from a career in nursing. I did sales just purely because it was a skill that I did not possess, and I knew I needed it if I wanted to start my own business. So if you feel as though you are a bit shy, you're a bit introverted, and you're afraid to be pushy, you're the kind of person that I want to work with. And the kind of results that I bring my clients, I've been looking over at my track record. Sometimes, we have to deal with that internal imposter syndrome. So one of the ways that I deal with it is by looking at my past clients. And one of the recurring themes that I've had with my clients is that I help them to double their businesses. And to that end, I'm actually just finished writing up my little story about how I managed to double my business 2 years in a row as a small business, right? So if your revenue in the last financial year was 60,000, 120,000, I can help you to double your conversion rates, or looking at all the different parts, double your revenue and your profitability within a 12-month period. Now, not everybody can do it, but I have a very strong due diligence process to make sure that for those people that we do. If you would like to hear more about this story about how I actually did it, free sign up. I'll send the PDF to you once I've had it sent to the graphic designer. And hopefully that will spark a bigger conversation later. Okay, let me know if this is displaying correctly. You can see me and the slides at the same time. Thumbs up if it's all working. Excellent. Okay, today's topic is a three-step sales system that converts. So what I'm going to share with you today, I'm not going to hold anything back. This is what I teach my clients, and this is what I use to get them to that doubling their revenue point. I love this photo. So at a networking function, one of the photographers took this snapshot. It perfectly encapsulates my personality in terms of being an introvert. How I present on stage is very different to how I am in crowded situations. So just to bring that point home, if you feel like you are a bit of an introvert, you don't want to be pushy, we should probably have a chat if you want to increase your sales. All right, what are we going to cover today? Before we talk about any sales techniques, we need to address this thing about our mindset around sales and selling. So then we'll go through the next three steps, which is the consultation phase, then the presentation phase, and then the close. All right, let's set the foundation for mindset. What comes to mind when you think about sales? Oftentimes, it's this picture. It's the dodgy used car salesperson who's trying to fob you off a deal. He might sound something like this. Hey, how's it going, mate? I got a good deal for you. I'll sell you this one cheap. I'll do a good deal for you. Right? So that's the picture that we have. We've all encountered those pushy, annoying salespeople. And so as a result, we have a negative association with selling. We think to ourselves, I don't want to be like that. So here's the problem. We tend to go on the opposite end and we don't sell at all. And that is absolutely tragic. And here's why it is tragic. To me, there is a solid moral case for sales. If you are not selling your service and your product, then arguably you are doing a disservice to society. Now, here's how it works. Whatever service you provide, you are solving a problem. When you come across someone with that problem, do you not then have some sort of responsibility to help them with that problem? I want you to think of yourself like a doctor. If you go up to a doctor and you say, I've got a headache, can you help me with my headache? And they say no, what kind of doctor would that be? And similarly, what kind of person would you be if you can solve people's problems, but you are not proactively looking for people to do that. So I want you to frame yourself this way, to start thinking of yourself like a doctor of whatever industry you're in. Now, I'm going to offer some free coaching for someone today. I want you to put into the chat section your industry, and I'll see if I can relate everything that I'm talking about today to your industry. So type into the chat box your business. Okay, so Keith was in first. Video production, Claudia was next, psychologist, fitness. Okay, we'll see if we can go with these 3 examples as we go along. All right, step number 1 is the consultation phase. Now, in the consultation phase, sometimes you have a separate sub-phase, which is the qualification, right? So the old framework in sales was known as the BANT framework. I've modified it because the BANT used to stand for budget, authority, time frame, and need. Now, it should go without saying that when you have a conversation with someone, that you are going to ask whether they need your service or not. Okay, so that should be a given. That's why I've removed it. And plus, Batman is more memorable. In this phase, what you want to ask is, do you have an idea about what my services typically costs? What we want to do here is we want to avoid that awkward conversation where you've gone through the entire presentation and then said, all right, our service is going to cost $20,000. And they said, oh, that's outside our budget. I only had $5,000 in the budget, right? You've just wasted your time. You've wasted everybody's time. So ask this question in the first call if you can, right? So the most artful way, the soft selling way of asking that question is, do you have an idea about what this service costs? Or another paraphrase is, have you set a budget for this? All right, let's go with video production. Okay, so for Keith, someone's interested in your video production services. You ask them, have you set a budget for this video project, right? So nice and simple. The authority question is there anybody else who is involved in this decision? Now, what will frequently happen? Let's just say Yilin's running an email campaign for you, and she happens to send an email to someone who is on the lower ranks of the organization. They have no decision-making capacity to say yes to your offer. You want to find this out nice and early so that you know how much time to invest in the relationship with this person. There's no point selling to someone if they have to ask their higher-ups for permission to buy from you. Finally, it's time frame. So we got to ask them, when were you looking to solve this problem, right? If it's 6 months out, if it's 12 months out, well, maybe we should have a conversation later rather than sooner. Okay, so that's the qualifying questions. Next is the consultation phase. Now, I can't go into too much detail given our time frame today, but broadly speaking, there are 2 types of questions. There's the diagnostic questions, and then there's the motivational questions. Now, here's what I find with the vast majority of my clients. We are very good at asking diagnostic questions. Okay, let's go with the psychologists. Might be quite hard to go with this, but the psychologists may ask diagnostic questions such as, oh, so you're feeling, you're struggling with depression. How long have you suffered from depression? And then you may ask, what treatments have you tried? What interventions have you tried, right? So these are diagnostic questions. But a motivational question might be, how has this affected your lifestyle? How has this affected your family? How has it affected your relationships? Notice how the diagnostic questions is just figuring out if you can solve the problem, but the motivational questions figure out why they want to solve the problem. And having done a lot of work with healthcare professionals, I find that this is a very big missing piece. Another example, okay, let's go with fitness, right? So the fitness diagnostic questions might be, how much exercise do you currently do? What's your diet like? And so forth. But a motivational question might be, what's your end goal? What is it that you're trying to achieve as a result of potentially working with me? If you can figure out what their core motivation is, then you're tapping into their emotions. And here's a noteworthy phrase: emotion equals action. If you cannot tap into the person's emotions, then it's a purely logical decision. Most people are going to lack the energy and the motivation to continue. So here's a framework that you can use. And I'm going to go through this very fast. So firstly, we want to figure out people's goals. Next, we want to find out what is their reality, what are the obstacles that they're facing, and then what are the next steps, where to from here. So interestingly, this is the framework that coaches use. So David might use this when he's talking to his potential coaching clients. Coaches use this framework to actually deliver value to people. People pay coaches to ask them these questions. But if you insert this into your sales process, people are going to feel like you are already delivering value to them without even having to pay you anything. And I frequently get this from my potential clients. Sometimes they end up working with me, sometimes they don't. But in every one of these situations, they always thank me. Thank you, Ben, for taking me through this process. I now have clarity as to what it is that I need to do. Right? So ask these questions, the goal-oriented questions. Okay, let's use Wouter's example, offshore staff outsourcing. What are the end goals? What are you hoping to achieve by outsourcing? And then they might answer that, yeah, we want to scale our business and we want to lower our costs onshore. Okay, so what's your current situation? How many staff do you have? How many do you want to outsource? What are the obstacles to you working with offshore staff? And then they might say, oh, I'm not sure about working with people from the Philippines because they have the Filipino accent. All right, so that's identifying the obstacles nice and early helps you to actually understand holistically their situation so you can deal with these problems up front. And then at the end of the conversation, you may say, okay, so based on your situation, it sounds like I might be able to help you. Why don't we organize another chat so I can take you through my process? Speaking of which, presentation phase. So this is step 3 in the process, or step 2. Sometimes I get mixed up with the numbers. All right. So the big takeaway from this stage, the presentation phase, is that you need to tell a compelling story. Remember, emotion equals action. Storytelling is by far one of the most powerful ways that you can communicate your message, because not only does it provide the intellectual framework, but it also provides the emotional. So here's what you want to do in the presentation phase. You want to bridge the gap. Now, remember, you solve a particular kind of problem for a certain kind of audience. Your client is currently at this side of the bridge, and they want to get across the bridge. So your task in your presentation phase is to paint a bit of a picture and to show them the pathway to get there, the bridge. All right, let's have a look at another example, training and consultation. Well, that's right down my alley. I provide training and consultations too. Okay, so when people speak to me, they often they say, oh, Ben, we need sales training. Okay, great. And then I'll ask them all sorts of questions to figure out what their ultimate goal is. And then I usually find out, oh, it's a revenue target that they're looking for. And there might be some other things such as increasing motivation, getting the staff to feel like they're cared for. But those are usually secondary to that end goal of increasing their revenue. So let's just say someone is talking to me. They say that I want to double my revenue in the next 12 months. I say, great, here's how I'm going to do it. And I'll show them my formula. I'll talk them through my process. I'll explain why the process is the way it is so that they can get to that outcome. And I make it very clear in their minds as to how they're going to achieve that end result. Now, here's a bit of advice that may make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. People talk about in sales a lot about objection handling. I would much rather do this. I would much rather proactively raise the objection before they even get a chance to ask it, right? Now, anybody here, are you priced on the premium side of the market? Anybody in the room? I can't actually see everybody. But okay, so we've got a few people. All right. So if you are the premium provider in your market, so your pricing is high up there when compared with your competitors, what I want you to do is to proactively raise that point during the presentation, or even earlier than the presentation. Here's the exact phrasing that you can use, and just personalize it for yourself. You can say, I am not the cheapest on the market, right? I am not the cheapest. The reason that we are priced this way is because we provide these extra services and we provide these extra outcomes, right? So notice how we are proactively handling that competitive situation. And once it comes time to close the sale, you don't even have to talk about it anymore. It's already been spoken about. So I've put the picture here of the big cross with arm wrestling the client. What we don't want to do is to get into an argument with them. So if they raise a problem later on, they say, oh, gee, your price is really high. And you say, no, it's not. What sort of situation are you going to get in there, right? You can't argue with someone. But so if you can't outrightly tell someone that they're wrong, the best way is to raise it proactively. As I mentioned before, telling stories is the single best way to convey relevance and to paint a vivid picture in people's mind. So at every point possible in your presentation, use a compelling story. This is why I've asked you guys to put your industries into the chat box so I can paint some sort of picture and make it more relevant for you. So what is the most effective way of using this? It's this thing called testimonials. Testimonials not only paint that picture, but they're also providing that valuable social proof so that people can have confidence in working with you. All right, we do have to speed on. Over to the close. How to help your clients to take action. This is the part that most people are most scared of. They feel like it's the hardest thing in the world, but it doesn't have to be. Now, here's a very cringeworthy stock photo for you to remember this point. Here's what you need to do at the close of the sale. Firstly, you make a recommendation. You say, based on your situation, here's what I would recommend. All right, let's use another example. Okay, speed dating. Okay, interesting. Speed dating. All right, here's what I would recommend for you. Well, I'm running an event in a few weeks. Here's the sign up papers. I would highly recommend that you come along if you would like to meet the partner of your dreams. But you also want to assess how ready they are. So how are you feeling about this so far? Or how would you feel about our speed dating event? They may have some objections that they still have. You want to uncover them as much as possible so that you have an opportunity to address it before they make a decision. And then you finally propose, would you like to go ahead, right? Keep things nice and simple. No need for fancy techniques here. Just, would you like to go ahead? All right. After you've asked the closing question, you need follow-up. Yilin mentioned this. The fortune is in the follow-up. Step number 1, book a decision call. Okay? Book it. Do not leave it vague. I'll call you sometime next week, or you call me when you're ready. Okay? Please, this one thing is so easy to do, but will absolutely massively transform your close rates. So you're making sure that you're making sure that there is no loose ends when it comes to booking that meeting. And here's what I do. I invite people to reject me. I tell them, at this call, please feel free to tell me yay or nay. And I promise you, I'm not going to take it personally if you decide not to. I've got a bit of an advantage. I tell them I've been in sales for a long time. I can take rejection. Please feel free to say no. Oh, thank you, Pauline. That's a very kind comment. Who can reject me? Okay, so sometimes people will not want to book the decision call. And then you have to go through that awkward, what's it called? Following up, call tag, playing phone tag. So if you have to play phone tag, then this is what I learned from David. Send a spear message. The spear message is, David, you still interested? That's it, right? Nice and short, one line. Finally, it's the goodbye message. David, I take it that you're no longer interested, or you've decided to move in a different direction. I wish you well, right? This trigger, again, this is one of those things that very small, but has a very profound effect. People who are interested will immediately get in touch once they see this message. Okay, I am offering complimentary strategy sessions. Let's explore if we can help you to double your revenue in 12 months. You can scan that code, or you can click this link and just book yourself in straight away. This is actually a priority link. I will actually let you get onto my calendar when I won't let other people get in. So obviously, I can only do so many of these. So if you are interested in exploring doubling your revenue by increasing your sales process and your conversions, let's have a chat. Thank you very much for coming along today.
Amazing. Ben, awesome presentation as always. What have we done? We've lost you. Let's get you on the spotlight as well. Yeah, so for those who haven't really spoken with Ben, he says he's introverted, but when he gets on these presentations, there's another Ben. There's Ben 2 that comes out. And you'll notice one thing, right? He's very genuine. He's very honest. And the sales process that he's described, it sounds obvious, but for so many people, they get caught in the emotion. They get fearful. They shut down. And I love the analogy of the doctor, right? I think, I don't believe people should sell ever, right? I think they should help people buy. And I think when you help people buy, you're not a salesperson, you're a customer service person. I'm here to serve you. What do you need? Why did you make contact with us today? What is the problem that you're facing? So asking these questions the way that Ben did it is ideal. I'm going to suggest that if you do not have a sales script or a sales process that you're using in your business right now, you should reach out to Ben, because having a sales process will improve your conversion. There's no two ways about it.